Okay, hello, I'm back. UFC was the other night, so let's just get straight to it. I'll tell you this right now. Most of the card didn't interest me in terms of exciting fights and seeing some wars. There were some interesting things to watch in the prelims and in the undercard. It was interesting to see Chris Lieben return after a year, away from that suspension and all the problems he's had. And I watched his fight, and I'll tell you the truth. I don't know what he's been doing in the year off. I know that he's kind of somewhat committed himself to cleaning himself up and, changing his lifestyle. He didn't look too great in that fight, and I did see him against, I believe it was Derek Brunson, who fought Jacare once before. Brunson didn't look too good. It was a decision victory for him. I'm not going to go too crazy on Brunson because my opinion was he was on 8 days notice, and not all the time you're going to get the best performance on that. And I tell you what, he kept looking at the clock. If you watch the fight, I was like, I wonder why he's doing that. He just looks like he wanted to get the hell out of there. But got a win over Chris Lieben. Not the most impressive of victories, but at least it's a win. Other things that stood out to me, the middleweight fight was the two middleweight fights. Okami and Belcher. I'll be honest with you, I think Okami's a very skilled fighter, but I think he's very tentative, and I felt that if Belcher was a little bit more aggressive standing, that Okami would get a bit more scared. Belcher was running his mouth throughout the whole week saying that he's going to fight Bisping in Brazil because we all know Vitor's going to pull out, and it was like he spoke so much that the receipt came in the fight, and he was just controlled for 3 rounds by Okami. I respect Okami's skills. I don't think he's the most exciting fighter to watch, but I do respect his skills. And Okami came out with a win. I don't see Okami fighting for the title, though, after the way Anderson just mopped the floor with him. But that's another story. The Boic fight with Costa Philippou, who is actually a training partner of Chris Weidman. That fight didn't really interest me that much, to be honest with you. Boic, it's the second fight that he's had where he's not looked too good. The Hector Lombard fight was a huge disappointment because everyone wanted a war, and then they didn't get that. They got this very, very tame, watered-down fight that didn't live up to the expectations, and I was kind of glad when that was over. And to be honest with you, up until the semi-main event, I was just like, well, this whole show is boring me right now. And then thank God for Jim Miller and Joe Lauzon, I can't say his name right, but he's fought in this country a couple of times. Thank God, because when that fight happened, that's when the whole show just picked up, and my mood picked up, and my mood lifted. And it was a great 3-round massacre of a fight. I kind of feel that this fight backed up a statement that I made in a previous video, where I said that, in my opinion, the toughest weight class in the history of the sport right now, to this date, is the lightweight weight class. It's so competitive, it's so stacked, you've got so many great fights in there, so many tough people to get through just to get to a title shot. And in my opinion, the guy that dominates that weight class should be considered the pound for pound best fighter, in my opinion. Jim Miller and Joe Lauzon just went out and had a war. I mean, I really like Joe Lauzon, and I like Jim Miller too, by the way. And Miller looked like he'd really improved since the Nate Diaz fight. He looked like he'd been working on his stand-up. He looked like he'd been working in all areas. Looked very aggressive. Came out there full throttle, full pace. Busted open Joe Lauzon. Joe Lauzon was trying to fight back. It was a great fight. I like both guys. And I mean, I'll tell you what, even though there was a winner and a loser, in a way both of them won because it was such a great fight that I felt that it gave them a lot of momentum. It was one of those kind of fights. Speaking of lightweights, and I'll just go back a few steps, I saw the Jamie Varner and Melvin Gillard fight, and I'll tell you what, this is several times now where I've seen Melvin Gillard and he comes out in a certain way, and when he comes out in this certain way, it just clicks with me, he's going to lose. And I was watching him at weigh-ins and the way he was carrying on, and for some reason it was like, oh, he's going to lose. And that's what happened. Split decision to Jamie Varner, nonetheless, but oh well. Again, wasn't the most exciting of fights, but it looks like we're going to have Jim Miller and Jamie Varner fight, which would be interesting. Again, building up some contenders there. Varner is starting to win me over. I've never been too keen on him. I mean, he's a good fighter. I remember him in the WEC. I remember when he was lightweight there. I know that Donald Cerrone absolutely hates that guy and just detests him. So he kind of has the stigma of being a bit of a prima donna and a crybaby and things like that, but now he seems to have slowly been winning people over again, so all the best to him in that. And now we're going to talk right about the main event and everything that happened in there. Now, I have done 2 videos talking about these guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if I have to do a 3rd video at some point, or 4th video, because this is number 3. Cain Velasquez, Junior dos Santos. A year ago, when the first fight was about to happen, I did a video, and I said, and I made a bold statement, that I believe that Cain could take Junior down. Cain has a better gas tank, and he's a very good wrestler, probably the best wrestler that Junior has ever faced in his MMA career, and in my opinion, that would be the thing that undoes Junior. Unfortunately, I was wrong, and Junior dos Santos won, 1st round knockout. 1 year later, rematch, and I said that the same principle still applied because of some of the things that I knew and some of the things that I believed. I thought about this fight so many times, and I always said that if Junior's going to win the fight, he's going to win the fight in the first 2 rounds by knockout. If he doesn't win it in the first 2 rounds, I see Cain winning by decision. And I'll tell you what, I expected Cain to be a bit cautious in the fight. Fight starts, Cain was ready to go. He was on the guy like white on rice. He was going all over, going for takedowns, being very aggressive, throwing punches, throwing low kicks, kept going for takedowns. Junior showed great takedown defense. Cain did get him down several times. Then he hits him with this right, I think it was a right or was an overhand. He gets him with something, and that's when the tide of the fight started to change. And from that point, it was just Cain Velasquez all day. Round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, taking him down, punching him in the face, having him up against the wall, just constantly attacking, not stopping, completely working on him, not letting Junior dos Santos have one moment to breathe. And it was a very, if you want to say, a one-sided fight. And it was the kind of fight that I thought it would be a bit more competitive, but then with Cain winning in the way that he did. And I think that there was also the fact that, and this is what I felt contributed to Cain's performance, it had been said and discussed that if Cain loses, this is not going to be a good position for him, because he's lost twice to Junior dos Santos. Now he's going to be just another guy in the heavyweight weight class, and that kind of puts him in a very difficult and not a, trying to think of the right word, not in the most progressive of spots. He's going to be almost looked at as a gatekeeper, and someone that talented and that gifted shouldn't be considered a gatekeeper. And I think that some of that contributed to the way that Cain fought, because he was just going for it, hell for leather, constantly working on him, and he ends up winning the UFC heavyweight title. And I'll tell you what, as a Cain Velasquez fan, I'm very, very happy to see him win. All the people out there seemed so happy to see him win. It was quite a thing to see that it was quite a split audience, because there were a lot of Brazilians there and a lot of Mexicans there. And I could tell the Mexicans because they were all wearing luchador masks, thanks to Eric Perez. So I could hear them, I could see them, and I could hear the Brazilians. And I'm not one of these people that holds this mindset that when a guy loses a fight, oh, he's worthless, he's a piece of shit, he's overrated. Listen, Junior dos Santos lost to Cain Velasquez. That does not make the guy this overrated piece of crap that a lot of people on the internet are going to now say about him. Junior dos Santos lost to Cain Velasquez. There's no shame in that. It just means that on that night, a better man won. Look, Cain Velasquez lost to Junior dos Santos. I was miserable that entire weekend. Number 1, my cable got shut down. Number 2, my internet got shut down due to some electrical problems. I had to find out by text that my favourite heavyweight fighter had lost by KO. And it was a miserable weekend, but I didn't lose faith in the guy and go, oh, he's overrated, he's a bum, he's a nobody. No, that's not how you should be thinking. If a guy loses, fair play to the other guy. That's how I view it. And I'll tell you what, Junior dos Santos showed a ton of balls and a ton of heart. And even though he lost, he could still whip everybody's ass in the world, pretty much, except for probably Cain Velasquez at this moment. He's still a badass. He's still the man. He's still number 2. He's still one of the top fighters in the world. He's still one of the cream of the heavyweight division. He still can walk away from it and say, I was UFC champion. And not many people can come out and say that. And Junior dos Santos, if you ever see this, hold your head up high. You fought like a warrior. And I'll tell you what, I gained a new ground of respect for Junior, because there are many people that if they were put in that same position that he was, they would completely just give up and stop fighting and just just throw in the towel. And we've seen that happen in MMA. We've seen that happen in boxing. We've seen boxers have breakdowns in fights, okay? Junior dos Santos was still trying to defend the takedowns in round 5. He was still trying to mount a comeback in round 5. And to me, that says a lot about the man's heart and the man's mental game. And I can't wait to see his next fight. And I think he will be back. And I would not be surprised if we see a trilogy fight between Cain and Junior. And I'll tell you what, I would love to see it. Great fight between two very skilled heavyweights. Now, what's going to happen next? Cain is the UFC champion. Of course, I'm happy to see that. Who is Cain going to fight next? It looks like it's going to be Alistair Overeem, but Alistair has been signed to fight Bigfoot Silva. But we know how these things work out. Sometimes a guy is signed to fight someone and then they change it up. Look at what happened with Chael Sonnen. He was signed to fight Forrest Griffin actually on this very show. And then that got changed. And then Chael ended up fighting John Jones now for the title next year and hosting the Ultimate Fighter. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing happen with Velasquez and Overeem. If Overeem does beat Bigfoot Silva, I think just do the fight right away. Do Velasquez and Overeem. It would be interesting if they had Overeem and Velasquez coaching the seasons of the Ultimate Fighter against each other. More for Overeem to get the exposure, and I think it would be a very interesting dynamic. Do I think they'll do that? No. It's a big fight either way. Who do I think would win that fight? That's a very tough one. I'd need to think about that. But if anyone has an answer as to who they think would win, please write some comments and let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. With Cain winning, this also means that we may see Daniel Cormier now go down to 205. He's been talking about it, and he says in interviews that he would, need 6 months to get his body into shape so he could fight at that weight class. And if that's the case, we are probably going to see Daniel Cormier and John Jones. Another fight I would love to see in a video that I actually made and talked about. If you want to check that out for free, I'll put that in the description. Anyways, I'm going to stop. My mouth is drying out. I am getting very tired, and I apologise, I'm not on my best form. I usually like to be a little more lively and a little more bouncier, but it's very late, I'm very shattered. New Year's Eve is tomorrow. I'm going to head off. I'm probably going to do one more video before I go, maybe tomorrow morning. If I don't, I want to say to every single one of you, all my subscribers, everyone that comes down and watches me, I want to say thank you again. Thank you from the very, very bottom of my heart for all the time that you take to watch my videos, for all the comments that you write, all the likes that you give me, all the shares, all the favorites, everything that you've done. It really, really, really means a lot. And, there are not many of us out there in the real world. When you go down the street, I can't really talk to anyone about MMA in the kind of detail that I do, or pro wrestling in the kind of detail that I do, and expect someone out there to understand. So coming in here, going on YouTube, turning on a camera, and just saying how I feel about things and going back and forth with you, it's a lot of fun, and it's kind of in a way restored my love for wrestling and MMA, and I kind of have all of you to thank for that. So 2013, looking forward to it. It's going to be a big year for me in a personal way. Going to be a big year for all of us. I wish every single one of you the best. I wish you nothing but health and happiness and prosperity. I'm going to head out. Merry Christmas, even though it's a bit late. And to quote a good friend of mine, Alex Isa, have a wavy new year. Take care and peace out.